What happens when you deliver results that a client could never have imagined? Every remodeler wants to make their clients happy, but are you doing everything you can to make them as happy as possible, down to the smallest detail? In this inaugural episode of Kitchen Remodeling Success Stories, Joe Chavis, founder of Chavis Building Renovation Services LLC out of Toledo, Ohio, shares his journey in transforming a challenging kitchen in a house that he bought to flip. He discusses how the remodeling job went so well, he was able to sell the house before the work was even done. Joe's vision for the remodel and desire to satisfy the client should inspire you in ways that you may not have thought of. And stick around until the end of my chat with Joe, when I'll give you a bonus tip about making your kitchen remodeling clients cry for joy. Now, let's hear from Joe Chavis about his kitchen remodeling success story. Better clients, better kitchens, better profits. Welcome to Kitchen Remodeling Success Stories. Learn from the most inspiring kitchen remodelers, one success story at a time, so your business can be a better kitchen remodeling business. Hosted by blogger and podcaster since 2006, Jacob Scher of Scher Select Media. All right, welcome to today's episode of Kitchen Remodeling Success Stories, where we dive into some of the most inspiring and transformative kitchen remodels that people have all over North America. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, Joe Chavis, who's the founder of Chavis Building Renovation Services LLC, which is based in Toledo, Ohio. Joe founded his company with a very powerful mission. They try to make every home renovation a true reflection of the people living in it. With a background in owning rental properties, Joe discovered that by carefully selecting the right materials, you can achieve a higher quality remodel at a lower cost. This philosophy of delivering both exceptional quality and value is at the heart of his work. His goal is to provide every client with the remodel of their dreams, and he's built his business on offering not just beautiful spaces, but also a first-class customer experience. And we're going to talk right about that in a minute. Joe, I'm thrilled to have you on today. How's it going?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Terrific. So welcome again to all the listeners and also the viewers, but also listeners as well. And we're going to focus on one specific terrific kitchen remodel of Joe's. So let's jump right into it. So Joe, set the stage for us. Tell us about this house. What was the situation when you guys were called in?
Well, it's actually the house is located in Akron, Ohio. This was before I actually launched Chavis Building Renovation Services. I bought the house to flip, and I've always had a thing where it's like I want to buy the ugliest house that people just kind of give it up on. I think it's just one of those things. Can I save this thing? Can I turn it around? And this house was in bad shape. And I remember after I closed on it, I had someone walk through it, and they're like, "You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. This thing should be torn down and rebuilt." And I'm like,
A
"Well,
money pit.
it was. Oh yeah, it was. It wasn't really a money pit. I think if you go in with a plan and you're thorough, deep, you think about things, the process and stuff like that, you get through it quickly. So I think one thing that the best advice I give to people is just do it the right way the first time and don't try cutting corners, and you're going to find in the long run it's going to be a lot less expensive than trying to shave corners here. But it was a project that it was a big project. It took us a while to get done with it, the whole entire renovation, but it came out awesome. And it was the end story of the project is actually probably one of the best feelings I ever had.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so give us a little bit more detail. Like describe it. Like what was the state of the kitchen specifically? Because we want to focus on the kitchens, right? So what was the state of the kitchen, and where did you guys start your process about deciding on what you could do with it?
Well, I've always had this thing where I walk in, like I started flipping houses with the idea of generating money to invest in the stock market. But somewhere along the way, I just really enjoy the design aspect of it, and I walk into things and I see what I visually see it could be, and I'll have some of the guys that work with me, and they're look at some things like this house, they're like, "What do you see this?" I was like, "This is gonna be amazing." I was like, "This is awesome." This particular kitchen was it was dirty, grubby. There was a chimney in the way that it was a big old brick that took up a lot of space. I'm very big on making sure appliances have homes. I don't like my refrigerator just kind of floating out there. It's got to be tucked away someplace nicely. And this kitchen was just not inspiring at all. And it was a small kitchen, but I visualized a nice island in there that people can gather and talk, and then an open concept to the rest of the house. And so I kind of came up with the design in my head, kind of like, okay, let's do this. So the whole theme of the whole entire project was kind of like the library coffee shop type vibe I was trying to go for. It was an open concept, but I like open concepts, but same where the rooms are still separated by architectural details. And so there's like the whole bookshelf that we built in the whole entire front room that's right next to the kitchen, and it's all part of the whole entire thing. So um, it kind of came out the way I was visualizing in my head, and I was pretty excited about it.
How long does it typically take you to set up the process for the until you actually get to work? Or how long did it take in this case specifically?
This whole entire project took about 7 months to get done, 6 or 7 months. But then
But
again,
you're talking about the whole house, not just the kitchen, right?
the whole house, it was all
Yeah.
complete because we gutted the whole entire house, really redid the floor plan, we replaced the air conditioner, the HVAC, we built all the walls, the ceilings. I mean, it was just a complete gut and remodeling job. So it took a while to go. Average kitchen, it's funny. It's like you get here, people are like, oh, it takes 4 weeks to do a kitchen. I'm like, no, it takes you're looking at 8 to 10 weeks. By the time you're waiting for like the countertops to come in, you're waiting for materials, and there's always plan for the unexpected. So I try to set my clients up for success, going, hey, it's gonna take 10 weeks. If we're done in 7, that's awesome. But I don't want to promise them 6 weeks and then week 10 and we're just finishing it up. So because people have lives and they're living inside the construction places, and I want to make sure they're mentally set up for what's prepared to happen. And I rather it to be under under promised and over delivered than vice versa. So I mean, it's really important to me that we take care of our clients and we take care of the projects and set up realistic expectations.
Okay. And so you mentioned the vision that you had for this kitchen when you got to the house, and was it a vision based on because you weren't planning on living in this house, you wanted to sell it, right? You want to flip it. And so how do you anticipate what people might like when you're making that kind of a design choice?
I think I go into a design aspect where I kind of listen to the space. I know people look at me like I'm crazy. I always tell I tell homeowners
You
there's
knock on the wall.
you're not going, well, hey, what's going on? I was like, there's what you want, there's going to be what I want, and there ultimately is going to be what the space wants. And if we work together, we're going to deliver an amazing product. It's something that's going to really speak. But the space is really going to tell you what it wants. And as weird as it sounds, it tells you what's the perfect way to optimize that space. And, we just kind of sit there with this particular house on. It's called Googler. There's a road in Akron, Ohio. We just kind of listen to the space and kind of, you don't force things. You're like, all right, this will make sense here. Let's move this here. Let's do this. So you can maximize it. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's also relative to the space around it, right? It wasn't just in
Yes.
isolation that you worked in the kitchen, right?
Yeah. I'm really big
And
on transitions. I think it's got to make sense. Things have to flow. You don't want to sit there and go, you know, say it's smooth ceilings here and then it bumps up to a texture ceiling. Okay, let's make a transition. Let's make a fake beam there. So it's a transition period that goes over. So it all makes sense where it's not just like thrown together.
so how many guys were you working on the project?
With this project, there was 5 of us working on it. Not all at the same time.
And just to be clear, how long? You said the kitchen itself was exactly what? I
It's
mean,
hard.
it was yeah.
I couldn't break it up because we were working on the whole entire house at once. Like we went through, gutted it, we went through to the drywall. So I couldn't really break it up. If I had to do the kitchen by itself, you're probably looking at about an 8 week period to turn that thing around.
And you guys can get started working right away before all the materials come in. I mean, for this kitchen specifically, did you have to order, like you mentioned, countertops? Did you have to do cabinets? Was there any new furniture accessories? What did you have to wait for?
I mean, you there's always a material you're waiting for. A lot of times you're waiting for a countertop. We don't install the countertops ourselves. I usually have a countertop company come in and do that. So there's always going to be a delay. You're waiting for to get on their schedule and for them to come in there. But that also goes back to the back planning of the project. So you realize that, all right, cool. While we're waiting on this, we're going to work on this. While we're doing this, we're going to work on this. So it's like you figure, you find a way to sit there and keep the project rolling as smoothly as possible so you can get it done as quickly as you can. So, but yeah, there's always materials you're waiting on, but you put that part of the planning process.
Right. Okay. And was there anything unexpected that happened throughout the project?
Not really. I think the unexpected part was at the end of it when we went to go put it on the market. That was the unexpected part. So it's kind of a cool story. But as for the construction part of it, No, there really wasn't nothing unexpected. I think we went in there realizing it was going to be a big project and a lot of work. And you go in there, I always sit there, even with a lot of my projects I do for other clients, I put contractor contingency funds in there, and I try to look past just the wall, like, okay, what could be behind door number one? It could be this, this, or this. So we're prepared and we're planned for that. And we have that contingency plan where even if we have to adjust accordingly, maybe the space, like I said, the space will tell you what it wants. And so sometimes when you bust open a wall, you're like, this ain't gonna work. Okay, let's go. We can make this work. There's always a way, but it's gonna cost a lot of money. Let's revamp here. So I don't think anything unexpected really happened, but yeah, it was a good project.
Well, you had a good plan too, right?
Yes.
Um, what about you benefit in this case from an empty house, right? It doesn't sound like there was no one living in there.
Yeah, there was people living in it. I can show you some of the construction phase of it. There's no living in this house.
No, but I mean that was a good thing. It makes it easier. But in general, you would be renovating a kitchen where people are living in the house. So how do you guys typically manage that?
I have my philosophy is a clean project leads to a better product. A dirty project leads to poor quality work. It also increases the chances of somebody being hurt and injury. So I tell our guys all the time, I was like, listen, I was like, when in doubt, clean it. I was like, we during the day we stop, we'll clean, organize everything. At the end of the day, we stop, organize, we clean everything. We do our best to do protection, whether it's like we'll sit there and put plastic up and block that space off completely. So we do our best, and if it's possible, we set up a temporary area that the homeowner can at least have a microwave and the refrigerator. We think through that, so we try to be as inconvenient as possible to the homeowner. We're there all the time. Once the project starts, we're there. We don't sit there, start, leave, start, leave. We're there all the time. But I tell our guys, like, we gotta be as least visible as possible. I was like, so let's keep our our the traces of us as minimal. So we're trying to keep less of appearance there, but only thing you want to see is the work getting done.
In this project specifically, were there any kind of finishing touches or little details that you're really proud of, whether it's you or your team, like something like that you guys did?
The dining room part of the house, there was this wood. This older house had this wood thing that was kind of awkward, and there was no getting rid of it. So we took another piece of wood and we put it kind of like the wood was like right here with another piece of wood. And we kind of put it here, make it like an L shape, and then we put some cord around at the bottom of it, and then we spent some time and just sanded down to the point where it looked like one piece of wood. And then we painted it this color, and then in the kitchen we painted the cabinets the same color, so it all blended together. That transition piece took a piece that way there was no way getting rid of it, and we made it a focal point of the house, and it actually came out pretty cool.
Was there anything that you guys said, you know what, like if we had to do this again, maybe we would do something a little bit different?
Nah, there was a lot of thought put into the project. I sold the house before it was completely finished. The only thing I really wasn't a big fan of was the light fixture above the island, but that was what the guy who was buying the property wanted, and I was like, okay, well, that's what you want, that's what you get. It's not really my style, but I wanted more of a chandelier effect in there. But outside of that, no, it all came together really nicely.
In that kind of a kitchen, is there something that, because that's a good point, that sometimes the customers will ask for something and it's not necessarily what you would have recommended. Is there something that seems to come back again and again that people ask for that doesn't necessarily jive with the space usually?
Not necessarily. I think it's people's taste. And sometimes you have this great vision of someone's project, and you just have to inform and educate them as best you can. And I always look at it where it's my job. Where if you want pink cabinets, I'm gonna give you pink cabinets. I'm gonna make sure this kitchen looks awesome, one way or another. I'm gonna make it look awesome. I take it very personal, and it's a prideful thing, I guess, where I want to make sure that I deliver what you're trying to that you want, truly want, because that is your space. It's your castle. It's your place where you get to run to at the end of the day to have your own piece of the world. And so it's important that that space is an image and a mirror of your personality and what makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel like a king. And so I take it where it's like, okay, how do we deliver this? Looks visually pleasing. It's the workspace is actually very functional and it flows. And then we get the delivery of a smile on their face. It's nice when I have this one client, Kathy calls me. She called me the other day and she goes, Joe, I just want to say I still love my kitchen. This is amazing. And those are the things that was just like you get off the phone, you're like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. The new homeowner, the one who purchased the house from you, was there anything he said about the kitchen that he appreciated really?
Well, here's a story with a homeowner who's a guy, he had a family. I ended up getting the house from a bank. It was a foreclosed or a repo house, and it was an older lady who had it. And so she ended up passing away shortly after she moved out of the house. And we're down there doing the final details, and I hadn't put the light above the island yet because I was trying to find the perfect one. And we were doing some of the touch ups, and there was a knock on the door. I answered it, and it was a gentleman. He's like, "Hey," he goes, "My mom used to live in this house. I noticed you guys been fixing this thing up. You mind if I check it out? Because I always hated this house. I thought it was ugly." And he comes through the house, and he's walking through, and he stood in the front room, just started crying. He goes, "My mom loved this house." He goes, "I never visualized it could look like this." And so he ended up sitting there, putting an offer on it, and he bought the house. I thought that was one of the coolest things. I sat there, like sometimes I don't tear. I'm like, that's awesome. So, you know,
It was meant to be.
to complete that circle for him to sit there and have something of his mother that, it was a home to him before it was a home, and it was just funny. Like, I always hated the house. I never knew why she liked it because I never thought it could look like this. And then he ended up buying it, him and his wife.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What a
So,
nice idea as well.
yeah, I think it was one of those things where it was just, to me, that's what I build my business on is the impact that we can have on our clients, our team members, and our community. Money comes, but it's the impact that you can leave on people, and I think that's what I pray every day that God leads my business so we can have the impact. One of my sayings I have is start your day by planting a seed of kindness to help you grow your garden. Because that kind of it's one of those things. It continues to grow and it goes and it goes and goes, and it's just the impact that you can have.
Wow. Beautiful. We're almost done. What would you recommend for a someone who's looking to remodel their kitchen? What would be something that they should ask you about as the contractor, as the remodeler, that they wouldn't normally think of otherwise?
I think the biggest thing with me, it's something that I always ask people. It's like, how do you use the space? How do you live in the space? How do you move around in the space? How do you entertain? How does your family? Because once you put thought into that on how you use the space, then the space can come alive, and then you're never like you're gonna enjoy it for many many years. So I think that's the important thing is people need to first think. Don't think of HGTV and all the trends. I tell people like forget that. It's like this isn't TV. This is real life, and real life matters. So think about how you want to use the space and how you cook. Because your ventilation for your stove is a big factor. Because I can tell you if I'm working with the Indian family, I'll tell them like, listen, it's like we want the vent to be a high ventilating because the spices we're going to pull that out of the air. If we're talking, a family that or a single person who barely uses their stove, and when they do, it's warm up macaroni and cheese. I was like, listen, I think a microwave vent above there would be more than efficient because you're not slaying the stove. So I think that's the first thing is don't worry about HGTV. Think about how you utilize that space and let's build that space around your lifestyle because then you know where to spend the money or not to spend the money.
Yeah. And they'll be happiest with the result because it was made for them, for their needs.
Absolutely. That's important thing. We make it for them. And typically, if you do that, you find a lot of times where 80% of the people come in the house are going to love it. They're like, this is amazing. So, because it works with the space.
That's awesome. Joe, I really want to thank you for coming on the show today. It's been really really enlightening, and you told a great story about that house as well. Where can people find you, especially if they're in the Toledo area and they want a home remodeled and a kitchen remodeled?
They can find us in a couple different areas. They can find us at www.chavisbuilding.com. You can find us
And
on
this will all go into the show notes down below, so they can
Awesome.
they can see, they
You
can
can
see it
also
there.
find us
Yeah,
on Facebook with Chavis Building Renovation Services. We try to post stuff there as much as we can. Or you can, reach out to there. Our numbers, or you can find my number there, or you can reach me at my direct number at 330-573-9244. That's my direct line. So I usually have it at my hip, and I work 24/7 because I love what I do. So yeah.
Fantastic. Joe, thanks so much for this. And for everybody watching and listening, join us for our next show coming soon.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Now that you know how to make a client cry for joy, let me show you how to attract clients who will cry for joy when they see the kitchen remodels that you've done for them. I've created something special that you can try out with just a few clicks. It's a special return on investment calculator that can tell you how many more such clients you can get if you adopt a simple yet surprisingly underused marketing strategy that you can easily apply to get ideal clients calling you. Click the link below to get access to this special return on investment calculator right now. Earlier, I promised you a bonus tip about getting your clients to cry for joy over the kitchen transformation you've given them, and here it is. Learn what makes your clients emotional. One Java-loving kitchen remodeling client teared up over the built-in coffee station in their new kitchen, which was something they always wanted, as it made their daily routine of morning coffee a delight instead of a chore. Another client hated cooking in her old dark kitchen. All that changed with a remodel that included large skylights and white cabinetry, turning the kitchen into an airy, happy place for everyone at home. Still another homeowner was overcome when they saw their new kitchen's island with seating for their kids. After years of makeshift dining, having a functional, family-friendly space would make all their meals more enjoyable and improve home life in a big way. How can you get these results for your current and future clients? Ask them about what makes them emotional in their current kitchen. What do they hate about them? What do they love about them? What do they feel is missing from their current kitchen? What have they always wanted in their kitchen? What's the first thing they would change if they could simply wave a magic wand? Do you regularly ask potential clients any of these questions or something similar? What gets the most reactions? Let us know in the comments. Thanks again to Joe Chavis of Chavis Building Renovation Services LLC in Toledo, Ohio for his kitchen remodeling success story and insights. Tune in next time when I chat with Terry Nation of Nation Builders LLC about one way kitchen remodelers can drastically shorten time on site. That's all for today's episode of Kitchen Remodeling Success Stories, where each success story helps you build a better kitchen and a better kitchen remodeling business.